Hello, good evening. Welcome to Naturally Fed Full Moon Ceremony. I hope you're well. I know that the event is going live on Facebook and on YouTube tonight. So, really exciting news. I'm waiting for a couple of people to join us. I know that I've got already Chris in the background. So, let me just add him here. How you doing, Chris? Evening.
I'm really good, thank you. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm very good. Look, I got a new screen. As you can see, we got
How do you get it? Can I get a new screen here too?
you usually have a lovely new screen every full moon event. Where's
I
yours
know.
tonight?
It's this new system. I'm still working out how to use it. So
I think actually, if you sent me a picture, I can load it up. I think that's the way that it works. I'm not too sure, but we'll work it out. We'll work it out for definitely for the next one, if it's not for tonight. And look, we got banners here. We got things that we can show this time. So it's all getting exciting. I hope the technology will continue to work for us because. I've had quite a journey getting to this point. I'm interested in getting your feedback, people. So if anyone wants to give us feedback on the event, how it's going, I know that there's also extra beauty on Facebook. The event is actually being added. Sorry, you're having live transcripts as well. So if that helps you, there's something amazing there with something that we can't do on lots of other technology. I wish we had a live transcript every time that I open my gob, because sometimes with my accent people struggle. So it's easier to read what I'm saying, I think. And good job for Facebook for keeping up with that. Anyway, welcome to the snow moon full moon celebrations tonight. Really an exciting time to be here and to be able to celebrate this amazing event and the full moon as usual with you guys. Thank you for everyone that has already started joining. I'll be interested to see how the new format is getting us out there, and obviously this is an amazing opportunity for us to really the full moons. I was actually teaching a lesson today, is that amazing opportunity for us to
getting us
harness
out there.
and
obviously, this is
feedback.
the full moons. I was actually teaching a lesson today. Is that amazing opportunity for us to getting us out there? And obviously, this is the full moon.
Okay, can you still hear me? Okay.
I was actually teaching a lesson today. Is that
okay? I was having some feedback when I logged into the other event. But yeah, what I wanted to just make sure that. Oop, can you still see me? I can see live video interrupted. Right. Can Chris? Can you still hear me? Okay.
I can still hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, good. And I can see you there. Perfect. Sorry, I don't know what was happening there. But yeah, this I was having a little bit of a chat today with people on my Naturally You course. We were talking about the moon cycles, and obviously it's really important for us to tune in. So if you're joining us for the first time on these events, we have 12 full moons in this year in the Naturally Fed calendar. So it's an opportunity for us to get in tune with the seasons, get in tune with the moon cycles. And the full moons are those times where our body is getting to full capacity. So on a full moon, we get to that point where our body is saying, right, I've absorbed everything I could from a nutrients point of view, from an emotional point of view, and we're ready to let go. Okay, so the full moon is always that time where we are basically doing that work to decide what are we letting go of, what is no longer serving me, what do I need to do to be able to breathe again, because now I need to offload some of all this stuff that I've been carrying with me. And so it's the perfect opportunity for us to set intentions, for us to really do work that is powerful in terms of taking us forward, and to be able to tune in to what is important to us. Every full moon, if you've seen already from the events page, if you haven't done that, I put it there in that banner that is scrolling in the bottom. So you got naturallyfed.co.uk/events. You can go there and you can see that every full moon event has got a specific theme. So we deal with certain emotions, certain organs, certain crystals, certain essential oils, and we've got knowledge that when you're attending all these events throughout the year, you're going to get a full body, emotional, spiritual workout. Okay, so every part of you is going to get a boost. Okay, so it's important that you tune into these events so that every month you've got something that you can work on. And I can guarantee you will feel incredible, when you keep tuning in and doing bits of work that all together are going to mount up to a massive, massive bit of action, really, that your body, mind, and soul is going to get. I'm very excited as well to have a new format. We've got new speakers joining us, new set of information as well, which is really exciting for me to bring out here. We also have the summits, of course, which are running concurrently. So we've got the March one coming up, which is our Spring Equinox summit. That one has got another set of speakers, 7 speakers every year, every summit, from international avenues, so people that I met and networked with during my work, and again bringing in incredible knowledge to add to this picture. So all of this is obviously in tune with the Naturally You system. You can watch a free webinar if you want to understand more about how I work and how these programs are organized. So the full moon, the summit, and the courses are all based around this system that I put together, which is giving you really a platform to build on, and for you to look after your health and well-being in a very simple, but more importantly, natural way. So I just invite you to tune in and go and have a look at the webinar, and we'll send you an email with these reminders as well. So if you haven't done this already, I just would like you to make sure to go to that website there, naturallyfed.co.uk/events. You can click on the full moon event for February, or any of the full moon events. Just click on register now, and you can just add yourself to the distribution list. So you're going to get all the information that you need about these events, future events, as well as the offers from our amazing speakers that they've been working on so intensely, and so motivated to help you out going forward. So that's really all I wanted to say for now. Obviously, we've got a full program for tonight, which I'm really excited about. And we are going to start with Chris. And if you guys have met Chris before, you already know enough about how amazingly insane he is. But if you haven't, this is our astrologist. So Chris is bringing a lot of knowledge and information about how the planets can influence our health and well-being, and indeed is our superhero. Can I see a superhero image?
I got the full moon background in, the one that I wanted, just in time.
Hey, that is perfect. So without any further ado, let me give you to Chris, and I'll speak to you in a second.
Cool. So it was surprising how much mine and Fed's voice, I think, actually sounds alike, because when you could hear the feedback coming through, then I actually thought, is that me talking? I've got something on record? It must be the Welsh twang to the accent. So yeah, too many compliments coming from Fed there, but thank you for the introduction. And what an incredibly powerful spiritual time it is. What an incredibly powerful time it really is. So we are on a full moon in Aquarius, with the moon today appearing full in Leo. We're going to go into what that really is, what that's about. And it's great for me because I'm actually Aquarius as a star sign. So it is my full moon today. And we have been through so much, even in the last month, energetically. We're coming to the end of a number of major astrological cycles. You know, and one of the things to understand about the moon is that when we talk about a full moon, we're not just talking about the moon itself and the role that it has within planetary influences. We're actually talking about that it is actually kind of like a conduit or a matrix that feeds in and filters loads of other energies from the solar system and from the constellations. So when the moon is full, it really is emanating and giving off so much from all over the solar system. It's not just itself. Okay, so that's how we want to view the full moon. So let's just have a recap over the last month. So January was a very intense month energetically. We had again a Mercury retrograde, which started in the sign of Aquarius. Today's full moon went back into Capricorn, went backwards retrograde into Capricorn. And then we had at the same time a Venus retrograde. Now, what I was noticing was going on with myself and a lot of other spiritual people is that people were needing to stop and to rest and to listen to what's going on within. And the thing is, when Mercury kind of interacts with people who are walking the spiritual path, yeah, we know about how it mucks around with communication. Mercury retrograde, it's notorious for screwing with communications. And we know how it can feel like you've been in an emotional mental war zone, right? When you go through a Mercury retrograde, or even in life itself. You know, we've kind of almost been in that, haven't we, through this retrograde as well, with the whole situation with Russia and the Crimea and Ukraine and things like that. So, but getting back to the point that I was making before I digressed, is that when Mercury goes retrograde, it is a sign that stimulates and deals with communication, but communication between the ego and the soul. And Venus, which also went retrograde at the same time, you know, represents at its highest spiritual aspect, the higher self. So the highest part of your soul, the most divine part of you. So what does that really mean? Well, to me, it means that the channels, the bridge from the ego to the soul, to the higher self, was like being enhanced. It was being supercharged and being strengthened. And what does that typically make available? What it makes available is more energy and communication to come through from the soul. So Mercury deals with communication on a very real world level, but it also deals with communication on a higher level, which is the communication between you and other parts of you. So you can really listen to your true nature more clearly. And I, for one, got so present to so many things in this last retrograde. I mean, I feel like a real new era is dawning for me. And I can tell you a bit more about that later. But also, I've heard a lot of people, just like I said, needing to stop, to really stop and pay attention to what's going on. And I've never been more present to, you know, the need for people walking in the path, to walk the path more, and the need for light workers and spiritually minded people to really own who we are. Right? Equally, it's been a very challenging time because Mercury retrograde shakes up things, so you can take a look at them, right? If things don't get shaken up, we often step over them and don't deal with them. But when they're thrown into our face and into our path, we have to address it. We have to see what's going on. So in a positive sense, like, Mercury's given us an opportunity to move forwards. And the negative side of that is that if there's certain issues and certain patterns that you haven't confronted and addressed, it can be quite challenging, quite traumatizing, quite a difficult period to go through, right? So I've seen a lot of people been dealing with that as well, but equally at the same time, really feeling the need to open up spiritually. You know, and what I really want to say is that we're not just conscious-minded people walking the path. We are birthing a new era. Yeah. I believe that between now and roughly the year 2040 will be the major chapter of the battle between the forces of light and dark on this planet. It's going to happen in the next 15 to 20 years. And what's going to progressively come out the other end of that is we will be birthing the age of Aquarius, the prophesized age of utopia on Earth. Okay, it's not all going to happen in 1 century. It's not going to happen in a decade. But gradually, as the years go on, more people will wake up. You will step more into your power. And the age that is destined, which is really one of the reasons why humanity is in existence in the first place, is going to come about through the deconstruction of the old system, through the waking up to what doesn't work, to the waking up to who we really are. And we are going to see a new age emerge very quickly, which over centuries will transform just about everything on this planet and get even better as time goes on. So we've got a very exciting time ahead of us. And it doesn't all have to be out there in the future. It's happening now. And we're riding that tsunami. You are the tsunami. So I want you to trust that everything that you're doing, everything that you're going through, every desire and every feeling that you have to walk the spiritual path is needed. It's wanted. It's necessary. And it's even critical for this planet. So this is one of the main messages I wanted to give tonight, because full moon in Aquarius, and we're moving into a major astrological cycle of 2,000 years for the age of Aquarius. And all the ancient scriptures say there's a golden age on the way. And the golden age is going to come about through an internal revolution. And who's leading that revolution? Who's at the forefront of that revolution? It's you. And it's me. And it's Fed. So I know it can be hard sometimes when we live in a world that is still largely populated by those who don't share our views. But what occurs as different and weird, I promise you, is fast going to become the norm. And I'm beginning to sense that for myself. I used to feel that to myself. Something shifted in me where I don't quite feel that way anymore. I know that it's the illusion is the world that we live in a very big way. And the reality is what is becoming. Spiritually, consciously. Very, very, very exciting times. You know, every 250 years or so after the founding of a nation goes what's called a Pluto Return. And a Pluto Return is where, you know, when a nation actually becomes and founds itself, like, you know, America, 4th of July, Independence Day, 1776. That time and that date has a natal chart. It has a birth chart like your life does. And that birth chart, you know, it is a blueprint for the energy of the nation. What was going on at that time, the characteristics and everything. And the United States has a Pluto return starting very soon. And Pluto's got to do with the underworld. It has to do with the hidden. It's very connected, Pluto, to the sign of Scorpio. And for those of you who are familiar with Scorpio in its negative aspect can be quite evil, deceitful, hidden, dark, have a lot of secrets, very deceiving, very manipulative. And Pluto is currently on a planetary level in Capricorn. Capricorn rules governments. So United States going through a Pluto return while Pluto is currently in Capricorn at 29 degrees. What does that mean? Well, when, you know, each star sign moves through 30 degrees, and Pluto is currently at 29 degrees in Capricorn, which is kind of like at the red line of the rev counter on the engine. It's at a really intense phase, you know, and you've got your foot down and you take it right to the red line of 29, 30 degrees. It's like as far as it'll go before it shifts gear. It's going to shift gear in 2024 when Pluto moves into Aquarius, and it's all about freedom. But right now, we're at a very intense time of the relationship of you could say, the hidden and the underworld and the planet of transformation to governments, to the systems, to things that run society. Okay. And at the same time that that is happening globally, we have the official Pluto return for the United States of America starting 1 week today on the 22nd of February. And a Pluto return for some nations often means a change or a fall in government, the overthrowing of dictators. There's been a number of dictators that have been either died or been, overthrown during a Pluto return for a nation. I'm going to be doing a video on that very soon in preparation for this great cycle the United States will go into. But why it's very exciting, because the United States is such a powerful nation. It has so much influence in the world. And, for so much to begin to come out is going to, will have a knock-on effect on the rest of the world. And I was intuiting some of this today, and some of the things that I was getting present to is, that the United States Senate and the politics in the United States is going to become aware that it's not the only ruling authority in the United States. There's actually an inner government behind their government that is running part of the agenda. And so we're going to see all kinds of things. Maybe Big Pharma will be hit. The JFK files are scheduled to be released in their full form in December this year. They were delayed by a couple of years. No coincidence they were delayed until the United States is in the Pluto return, because it might reveal some secrets about how he really died and what was really going on, and that's going to shift people and make them think differently. So we're in very transformational times, and it's not going to stop. So, it's really important for us all to do the work on ourselves, to do the meditation, to do the nutritional stuff, to reach out with each other, to practice all the tools and the things that we have at our disposal, and even to find some more. And sometimes it may feel like we're not making the ground, and it's not so easy, because there's a lot to come out, right? But like I was telling somebody in an astrological reading last night, that if you take a step towards your soul will take 50 steps towards you. For every bit of work you put in, there'll be 50 steps that come back to you. I'm personally beginning to experience this, I feel. All the work that I've done in the last 10, 15 years of my life is starting to pay off in ways that I feel that it never has before. There's kind of like an internal liberation going on, and an energization of myself at every level that I've never quite experienced in the same way. So that's pretty exciting. And like I mentioned at the start of the show, that I would just share a bit about what I got present to intuitively through this retrograde cycle is, I guess, confronting who I am and what I'm here to do in the world as a soul's purpose is a challenging thing, right? And I can want to dive and dart around what I'm here to really do, which is part of it is to work with the indigo kids, the crystal and rainbow children, these new kids that are here to bring in various new ways of thinking, of being, of doing, of acting consciousness into the world, and provide them with the development tools and the training they need to heal themselves and become effective adults who make a conscious difference to society. I've known this for a very long time, but I've been wounded by society. Nobody gets me. I'm a spiritual person, and nobody gets this, and it's all weird. But that's beginning to change, and I'm beginning to step more and more into my power and recognize that now is the time. And it was just such a deep and profound recognition in January that no, I'm not going down some of the typical paths that I've been down before. When it comes down to work and income and career, it's time. It really is time. And I believe that communication was made partly possible through the retrograde we were in, because the energies take us back, and going back is going back within yourself as well. So the energy can reach parts of you that are within and strengthen that connection, like I said, between the ego and the soul, so you can listen more fully to what your higher parts of you are trying to tell you, and you can breathe more of their energy and power into your life. And that power will stir things up if there's still a lot of gunk to come out, so don't be afraid of it. It's part of the process. One thing we need as human beings is to understand and navigate the labyrinth of existence with a bit more finesse, which I think includes not being afraid to fully understand how to use and work with the challenges that we're faced with, rather than thinking, oh my God, I'm having a really rubbish week. Oh, why is this going on like this again? We need to really embrace and ride the waves and be taught how to do that, because there's so much power in going into it and understanding what's on the other side of it. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share about the larger context of the astrology. Coming back to the full moon, the moon always appears opposite in the sign to where the sun's month is. So the sun is still in the month of Aquarius, and Aquarius' opposite is Leo. So Aquarius rules altruism, the collective consciousness, and the new age. And Leo rules the ego, hierarchies, and the individual. It's the opposite energy. So what we really need to be doing today is taking a pen and a paper, or at least a pen and a paper in your mind, and getting present to and writing down, if you were to really stand in your lion power or your lioness, in the I am presence, in the lion's roar, who and what would you embrace, would you embody for yourself and for this world? And sometimes the greatest power has the lightest touch. It's not like it needs to be something really powerful. But like, who are you? What are you beginning to realize spiritually? What could you take on about who you are? And discover that real inner strength and give it out to the collective through whatever work you're here to do. And even if you just design what that is, and have a think about that today. It could be a podcast, it could be a business, it could be a Facebook page, it could be emailing your old clients, it could be letting all your friends know what you're up to and sending them a meditation link to have a listen to. It could be stuff like that. But on a Leo Aquarius full moon, let's get our power, but let's get it in a way that perhaps is a bit different to what we usually get it, if you're getting me. And I think that's really what today's full moon is about, is discovering a new freedom and a new power. Not a force, not a battle of wills, but a light that can be embodied by standing in who you really are and letting that sink in. And that's my message for tonight.
And beautiful as always. Beautiful message. Chris, I find it so fascinating, and I'd like, first of all, to invite everyone to click on that love button, on that like button underneath, to show your appreciation for Chris. But how powerful this is, because it really resonates with me as well. I think that the energy of this full moon is really important, and when we are talking about reclaiming our power, there's something beautiful, because obviously it's where we make that connection with our true self, and we can push forward and and embrace sometimes parts of us that are so vital, and sometimes we forget to celebrate, or that we leave behind. So that really resonated with a lot of the stuff that is happening at Naturally Fed and with me personally as well. But it was a great wisdom as usual for you to share.
Thank you.
And we are going to hear more from Chris at the next full moon event. But if you haven't done already, so you can always go and join our mailing list. So you can go and click on the event, to join the event, and we'll be sending you information. Chris has got some lovely offers. I don't know if you want to just explain briefly what those are, and obviously we will send the code to those that have joined the distribution list, so you make sure that you go and do that. But yeah, what can people come and do with you, Chris?
Yeah, so I've finally got a website up and running for the astrology practice. So I've been doing quite a lot of astrology over the last few months, which has been pretty exciting. And as somebody who watches the full moons, and as there are 13 full moons a year, you can have a 13% discount on any of the packages that I offer. I do like a basic 90-minute reading, a 90-minute reading with a 1-hour integration session, and that plus a healing session as well. There's 3 packages that are on there. And that's the service I offer as an astrologer, to work with people. So if you're interested, you can check it out. Thank you.
Amazing. So perfect. Thank you very much. Much love to you, Chris, as usual. And I wanted to thank you, and I'll see you soon. So I wanted to introduce as well our next speaker, but just before I go there, just to give you a flavor as well of some of the conversations that are yet to come and what we are focusing on with this particular event. So the February moon is very much centered on our certainty, our root chakra, our stability. So when we are moving into the energy of this full moon, as Chris has said, the importance of finding ourselves relies very much in scanning our environment, in kind of knowing what is important to us, what am I made of, what matters, who have I got around me, where do I live, finding our center of stability, kind of grounding ourselves and finding, that power in who we really are, in our roots, establishing ourselves, creating the foundations for our health and well-being. And this root chakra energy is what really starts, this ascension, that we need to be able to elevate ourselves and do all the other levels of work, leading up to, our sacral chakra, to our emotional center, to our creativity, to our happiness in the solar plexus, to our love in the heart chakra, our communication, our growth into the third eye, and finally into our spirituality. So, it is really much that center of stability, of certainty, of safety that we really need. And to start doing that work and to help us understanding more some of the things that we can do to work with this energy and to really getting more certain in our life of the things that we want. I'm bringing on here Sally, who is joining us to talk about the essential oils that you can add to your practice to work with this amazing energy. So welcome, Sally. How are you doing?
Hey, welcome. Thank you. Yes, I'm good, thank you. And from what you've already just been saying now, and from what Chris has said, I've got some really beautiful oils that just fit in, as everything does, perfectly, aligns and resonates. So yeah, I will share.
I will leave that over to you. I'll speak
Lovely.
to you.
Thank you. How do I get a moon in my background? You just got my larder.
We will need to
It's got loads of, just imagine all the superfoods and all the good nutrition in there.
I'll try and get one on for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it must be bright out there tonight. It's getting there, isn't it? Gorgeous, bright, full Leo full moon. Right, essential oils. Okay, so like I said, there's some beautiful ones now that are really going to relate to what's been said so far. So just to go through a few oils that are going to be perfect for right now. it's just beautiful how they can work as well for us on a deeper level. So I'm going to start with patchouli. Such a beautiful oil. Patchouli is the oil of physicality, and it is one, you know, Fed's already mentioned the root chakra. It's definitely one that's going to help us to come into that rest and that still state, because yeah, I really felt over winter this calling to stop and be still. And I feel like that's when the magic happens, doesn't it? You know, it's giving us that rest and that clarity to be able to just manifest and bring through what we need to, hear the lessons, hear the messages coming through. So we need that stillness and rest without the chaos in our life. So patchouli is going to ground any chaotic energy. It's going to really just bring us, allow us to fall into the full power, to be our best. Like Chris said as well, it's about, you know, this authenticity, you know, finding that way, finding what we are really here to do, to embody, to be, to feel. So it's a really powerful time coming forward. So patchouli is also a really lovely oil to pair with more of a spiritual practice. So if we like to do things like that, but also like to keep that grounded feeling, it's going to be useful to use then. And it will be great in Tai Chi, Pilates, Qigong, walking, meditation, you know, and you can literally pop a drop on your wrist here or across your heart space, or just take some deep breaths with it. It would be gorgeous to use. It's also an oil that reminds us, like I said, the stillness and rest. It's going to remind us to take that solitude, you know, and that is okay, listening to our own body. We've got to do that, you know, and then we can go forward. It also helps with shadow self and shedding, letting go of old self. So what are we really here to do? Coming back to that again, it's all very poignant. And it's also a good one to feel into the energies of both the heart and the kidneys, and know that needs to be in balance. You know, you've got the damp and the wet with the water element of the kidneys, and you've got that fire of the heart. So you want them in balance. You don't want one to outweigh the other, you know, with too much dampness or too much fire. It's like, just get it right. So it's a nice oil to help with that balance. And we've got, of course, the Leo full moon. So that's all about fire there and the heart. And we are in the water element still of the Chinese medicine system. So yeah, that's like kidney. So we'll move on and have a little look at Vetiver, which I have got right here. And a little tip for you, this might be really helpful to know, is I had a pipette lid to mine. And this is because it is a root oil. And it's fine now, but can you see how gooey and sticky it is? If you're trying to drop that out of a usual dropper lid, it will take a long time. So pipette is a really handy way to get that out. And this oil is incredible. It's really nice. One of my daughters really likes this as well, and she is a bit more awake at bedtime, so it's one that really helps her to calm. So yeah, it's a really grounding rooting oil. It's from a root. It's really thick. It's just gonna bring you that wisdom and guidance from the earth, from Mother Earth. And it really is quite like the earthy, muddy smell after the rain. I love it. It's like rolling around in the earth. It's so gorgeous. It's so grounding. So it's actually the oil of centering and descent. And like I said, it brings that earth wisdom, that guidance. Again, that stillness brings us back to our core needs. It will help if we feel too busy and not present enough. If we're avoiding things, it can help us to uncover the root of the emotions, what's going on for us. Any emotional issues. And it brings a lot of peace. It's actually within the peace blend that doTERRA have. And I did a little exploring the emotions experience last week with customers. That's available for customers with us. And it was beautiful. And we looked at the peace blend then. So this is within the peace blend. So Vetiver is also gorgeous for any anxiety, any post-traumatic stress, and ADHD and things like this. So any, hyperactivity really calms. So it's really root chakra, beautiful. And then I wanted to mention black pepper oil, which is beautiful. Mine is over there because my kitchen is here and I use it in my cooking. So the oils, doTERRA oils, you can use internally. This is a massive plus point, massive. All the testing is there to make sure you don't want any heavy metals, pesticides, herbicides, any dilutants that shouldn't be there being there. You can take them internally so you can flavor your food and drinks with them and add the health benefits. So my black pepper is on the shelf over there. It is an absolute beaut. It is the oil of unmasking. So again, it's going to help you get to your true self. What do you need to unmask? It's really great for breakthroughs. Interestingly, black pepper is from a little tiny fruit that grows on a tree in India. Many fruit oils are from citrus trees, and they bring abundance because they encourage light into the body. But black pepper, although it's classed as a citrus tree, it actually helps us in the darkness. So it helps us to unmask any self-destructive behaviors, any self-sabotage, any, again, getting to our authenticity. So yeah, it also pairs well with black crystals. It's kind of that same effect that black crystals will have, in that they absorb negative energies, lower vibrations. Black pepper does the same. So you can sort of pair them together and have them in an area together. You can pop the oil over your crystal, but you can use it in that same way. So it's fantastic. It also guards and wards off any negativity. So you can feel really empowered. And on a physical level, it's amazing for your immunity. Really, really amazing. It's antiviral, so it's going to give you an amazing boost. Like I said, you can put that in your cooking, put it in your curry, your dal, your soups, anything, where you would seasoning. And you've always got that pure, the best possible health ingredient quality there that you can get. So that is our lovely black pepper. And then one more that I wanted to mention, and there are different ways you can use these oils, whether that is something you might put in the bath or something you might add across the heart space or something in your cooking, so you'll get to know the ways to use them more when you're on this journey with us. So do reach out if there's any questions or pop them below. I'm happy to help there. My last oil for this evening's ceremony is marjoram. Absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful. It feels a bit lighter than the others I've mentioned so far. Really beautiful. Marjoram is the oil of connection. So when we've done all that unmasking, that discovering who we really are, and then we want to reach out and we want to connect with like-minded souls, soul family, find our tribe, this one is wonderful. And this is about union and commitment. It's been used for, long time to honor the connection also with Mother Earth, because these are oils of Mother Earth. So we can also use marjoram for the messages to come through. We can sit with her for a moment. I do feel she's a her. We can sit with her and we can allow the messages to come in and have that connection there and allow the trust and the truth in as well. It's also beautiful in relationships. So that, again, that union and that trust and that connection. trusting that connection and what it's bringing us. You know, all relationships will bring us something, you know. So marjoram is a beautiful oil to have in a bath as well, actually. Really, really beautiful. I love this one. Maybe with lavender, maybe with your vetiver, but this is really useful for easing muscles and tension in the body. So yeah, it brings that warmth as well. It's a real beautiful oil to use. Helps with relaxation, to let go of any judgment, criticism. So you can see that I'm picking up a lot on the emotional levels of these oils and the gifts they can give us and how we can use them, which there are plenty, and you'd be blown away by what they can bring, like I am. Every time I hear some feedback or some discoveries from someone using them, I adore it. It's amazing. So there we go. I hope that has been a helpful insight into the oils to use at the moment. Like I said, if you've got any questions on any of those, do reach out and ask. There'll be a little masterclass coming up soon. Anyone who hasn't been introduced yet and would like to know the basic, real big sort of doTERRA differences with these oils, give me a shout for the link.
Amazing as always. Amazing knowledge, and definitely oils that I'm going to be using tonight and over the next couple of weeks. I'm ready.
My hands smell good now as well.
You know, and it's interesting that you brought up vetiver, because one of my kids has got ADHD, and indeed is what I use around the full moon, because I find that it's really helping with that balancing. But they drop on the thumb and straight up on the inside of the mouth, on the roof of the mouth.
Brilliant.
Really quick to work. Amazing. Okay, so again, obviously show some loving for Sally. Give a little bit of like and love hearts if you liked what she shared, and if you think that anyone would benefit from this amazing knowledge around essential oils, reach out and share as well this event, you know, the what you're seeing, so that people can watch it as well. And of course, don't forget to register on the link below, on the banner that is scrolling past, so that you can get the amazing opportunity to connect with Sally and have a chat around the oils and the offers that are going to be coming up, because isn't it right that normally around February time we've got some offers coming up with doTERRA?
Might be. There might be. This is the usual kind of timing of year. It's my little prediction. I think we could be close to having some good buy one, get one free offers. Ooh. So, watch this space. It's exciting.
We've got some Sally witchcraft, you know. Lovely to have you here as always, Sally.
Thank you.
So much. Have a lovely evening, and I shall catch up with you soon. Okay, fantastic. So just continuing on this amazing journey, and as I said, obviously we are still working with this energy of the root chakra and this the stability that it gives us. I just want to make sure that I've got everything sorted for our next speaker, and we've got 2 seconds. Let me just double check, because I confuse myself, so that I can make sure that I have got this right. Yeah, perfect. So Lisa is up next. So we have got this journey that is really going to help us in terms of what to do next, you know, to work still with this energy. Not only we've got the essential oils on one side, but of course we're welcoming back as well Lisa and her amazing crystals. How you doing, Lisa?
Hello, good evening. Good evening. I managed to join a little bit earlier, so I'm really happy that I haven't missed what everybody's been saying. So it's been really interesting so far this evening, isn't it?
Absolutely. Wonderful. And thank you for joining us, because I know that Lisa was rushing, you know, after finishing her other job, you know, so very, very glad to have you here for you to share amazing feedback about Lisa from last session. So no doubt you will be bringing it again. So I'm going to leave it straight up to you, because I know that we still have so much to cover tonight, and
okay,
you've got a bit to tell us about. So over to you.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. And I'm just going to turn my camera around. Am I able to do that? Am I able to turn the camera around?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you can. Yeah.
No, that's knocking the camera off.
Ooh, okay. I'm not sure how that works.
Okay, so that's going to be fun then, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to turn it around, see if I can turn it around this way for you to see.
Yeah, that works. We can see.
You can see?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, this is going to be fun now because everything's back to front. Okay, so I'm just, Fed had given me a list of crystals this evening for us to look at, and I'm just going to show you them here. And the only one I don't have with me this evening is the red coral, because I don't have any of that in stock at the moment. But I'm going to start off with, I'm just going to follow on from what Sally was saying about the black crystals and about the black pepper being sort of really resonating with them. Black pepper really resonates with black tourmaline. Now, lots of you who use crystals will be very familiar with black tourmaline. It's absolutely beautiful. It's wonderful for grounding and protecting our energies. It's essential to have if you're moving house and you're moving into a new place, then black tourmaline needs to be around your front door so that it protects your energies inside and it protects you from any negativity from outside as well. So some gorgeous black pieces of it here. These are natural chunks and this is how it grows. And it's just got the most fascinating shapes in it. And also it does tumble, but as you can see, it's not wonderful when you tumble it. So in terms of what's happening with this full moon now, is that this is going to be wonderful for cleansing, clearing any sort of old energies away. It brings in a lot of protection, helps to remove any negativity for us as well. So as like Chris was talking about earlier on about writing things down and starting to make some positive promises to yourself about your journey, etc., then this is wonderful for helping with meditation, and helps you to sort of when we journal in things and we're writing things down, we're able to explore and reflect. It helps us to sort of overcome many feelings of how we value ourselves, how we see ourselves, etc. It helps us to start to knit things together once we have a really good awareness of where we're at with things, isn't it? Always used for shielding negativity as well, and also wards off it. So it's when you're meditating or you're doing any sort of spiritual work, is having this and obsidian around you is just like having a lovely shield around your energy to protect you. So that's the beautiful black tourmaline. And in the center now, you can see here we've got some really gorgeous examples of obsidian and some mahogany obsidian here. So I'll talk about the obsidian first. It's a volcanic stone and it's quite glassy in its appearance, and it can be quite translucent. So if I show you the mahogany here, this lovely little angel, you can see just right through it, can't you? You know, so the translucent parts of the volcanic bubbles basically. Now the obsidian is used for many purposes through the centuries, for spears, weapons, etc. Shamans use this such a lot as well, especially through the lunar cycles. They used it to identify their shadow work. And when they were doing their shadow work, they often used talismans of obsidian to help them to ground their energy. So even though energetically they might be in a trance-like state, as they often had obsidian around them as well. Now, this is wonderful for clarity, increases our spiritual connections. Like Chris said earlier on in his in his presentation, is that it's really important time for us now spiritually, and it's important for us to be able to pass our knowledge on and to help people to find their ways on their paths as well. So the mahogany obsidian then, all of these, everyone I'm showing tonight, are all based on the root chakra, obviously. And the mahogany obsidian is absolutely gorgeous. It's got a mixture of like hematite in with the obsidian, which is giving it gorgeous red and brown colourings. Now, this is wonderful. This, again, looking at what's happening during this cycle of the moon and the time of year we're at, etc. It's all about creativity, reigniting our passion, bringing out, sort of bringing our thoughts into action. So like we talked about in the first session we did here about sort of those little buds coming up through the surface. Now they've broken through the surface and they're like, what are we going to do next? What's our purpose? What are we going to do? Now, it's wonderful for carrying, especially in tumblestone sizes like this, because it helps us then to release our own limitations. So if you know what creativity is like, if we don't use it, we tend to lose it, and it starts to lie dormant. And sometimes we do that over the winter. We don't become quite so creative. So this is wonderful to use now over the next month or so, where we need to reignite our creativity and our passion for things, It allows us to have really honest conversations with ourselves as well, and allows us to express ourselves and doing the things that really matter to us, On a sort of physical level, is it encourages blood flow. Encourages so we can keep cool, that we don't keep all that yang in our body, and it starts to bring balance by oxygenating our blood, just like all the bubbles of air that are in the obsidian, is that we also need to have all those bubbles bubbling around us to keep everything flowing. So that's the obsidian. It comes in different, this is some sheen obsidian here. I'm not sure how well you can see it because I can't actually see what I'm showing you, if I'm honest. But this is where layers of bubbles have built up in the obsidian itself. And it gives these wonderful sheens, and it can also give beautiful rainbow colours as well. This is a Japanese hulu that's used for protection as well, and just to show that it can be shaped in different ways as well. So even though it comes naturally like this, it can be shaped in lots of ways. So I'm going to come down now to the Bloodstone. Wonderful, wonderful stone this is. I really, really love using this for different meditations, etc. because it's got a beautiful green and either red or brown citrations in it, and it's very, very calming, very, very grounding, very stabilizing, helps us to sort of see the right ways in any decisions that we've got to make, and also helps us to remove any blockages. And when we need to have a bit of courage, where we need to sort of take a bit of a risk and dive in, is that it allows us to sort of make the right decision for ourselves. So sometimes we need to hold back, sometimes we need to sort of really get on with what we need to be doing, but it helps us to ease ourselves into that situation. Also wonderful for conflict as well. So if you're somebody that doesn't like a lot of conflict, I'm somebody who doesn't like a lot of conflict. I've been carrying this around with me throughout all of the last 2 years, basically, because it's also wonderful for the immune system. So for boosting our blood flow and in promoting positive blood flow. So sort of from a historical point of view, Aztecs often used it, is that if they were in the rainforests, etc., then they had, or in the jungles, is that they were bitten by anything sort of venomous, then they would use the bloodstone to promote the flow of blood away from the injury as well. So again, a wonderful talisman as well for going into battle. It was used for years ago. And this also helps us, as if we feel a bit numb emotionally, then bloodstone can really, really help us to reconnect with ourselves, and also to find our value and to stand in our power, basically. Helps to strengthen our energies and to remove any energy blockages as well, and those conflicting emotions within us as well. Even though if you don't like conflict, it will help you in that situation, like I said. But also we often have a lot of our own inner conflict, and the bloodstone can really help with that as well. I also popped in some snowflake obsidian for you to have a look at, because this time of year is where we're starting to find our balance, and it's really important. So Snowflake obsidian is about the light and the dark and bringing balance into our lives. So I wanted to include that because I feel as if we balanced at this time of year now, we're going to start making some really positive decisions for ourselves going forward throughout the year. And finally then, I want to come to the lovely red jasper. This is one of my favourites. All of these crystals here can all be used on the root chakra, the sacral and the solar plexus, the bottom 3 chakras. Very, very grounding. Love red jasper. To me, it just sparks of creativity and energizing and really pushing us to our limits about where we need to be, you know. It encourages stamina and it encourages strength. Historically, it's been a talisman for scholars, magicians and scribes. So again, if you're trying to write things down and to make some promises and set intentions for the year ahead, then, you know, sort of just like Chris said, it's really important that we're able to look at where we're at and what we're doing and where we would like to be. So having some red jasper around you when you're doing that, or just having it in your hand when you're writing, is really good. It's wonderful for opening yourself up, but also it really nurtures our soul and allows us to find our soul's purpose, but as a really fiery force of energy to sort of ground us as well. Now, what I absolutely love about red jasper is it's got a natural gravitational pull to the Earth's core, which makes it so grounding for us. So it's my favourite grounding stone of all. And, you know, sort of if we feel all up in our heads and we're not thinking straight and we need to have some clarity and focus and direction for ourselves, then I would always give somebody some red jasper, because it'll bring that balance back. So even though you're grounded, it will help you to carry on sort of following your path and thinking about what's important for you. Again, it's another stone that helps with circulation, helps keep blood flowing, again helps us to overcome emotional numbness as well. And also is it the red jasper is used for helping to rise and release our kundalini energy as well, which is our life force energy, and it's where we get our passion and our fire in our belly from as well. Okay, so I'm trying to see, I can't really see if there's any questions there for us. So I don't know if Fed wants to, if he can come back on and let me know if there's any questions that anybody's asked, but I can't seem to see any, sorry.
No, at the moment, there's no questions. A lot of compliments.
Good.
I'm here with my obsidian, look. I got
Good choice.
Absolutely amazing stones. You know, like I was really fascinated by that protection, you know, that it gives from that negativity around you. And when I bought them, I was experiencing literally that. There was, you know, people around me being so negative that, you know, as soon as I heard about the properties of the sun, I was like, that's mine. That's speaking. And I literally spent a couple of months. I got, you know, a big love heart here, which is always by the side of my bed, on my bedside cabinet. And then I got a little moon. And this I carried in my pocket for literally the best part of 3 months.
And it can be very tactile, can't it? It's quite soothing to touch as well. When you've got the moons in your hands or anything, there's just something about them that you can't put them down, you know. And they are often depicted in, you know, this wonderfully carved, especially sheen obsidian, this wonderfully carved into hearts, into moons, etc. And they're just very, very tactile, you know, sort of they're wonderful. So it does come from very mountainous regions as well. And so there's always lots of energy, lots of, you know, sort of warmth, but also there's lots of water involved in the formation of it. So to me, it's one of the perfect balancing stones, you know, about bringing the fire, the water and the earth and the air all together, because there's beautiful air bubbles that come in some of it. I don't know how well you saw that lovely little obsidian angel. But the shapes in that was just phenomenal, you know. So as you can tell, you know, sort of do love them a little bit. But they are the ones that you've chosen this time are beautiful, because it is very much about the root chakra this time of year. You know, sort of we're just trying to start to find our way forward. You know, sort of we've all got over the sort of initial shock of like the beginning of the year, what's happening, what's coming next. And again, you know, so this time of year, generally, especially here in the UK, is usually very cold, very wet, very frosty. So you can have like 4 seasons in one day here, can't you? You know, and I think that's what I love about it, because it helps to keep us grounded. The things are ever changing, and that you can't guarantee that everything's going to stay the same. You know, so I quite like that, and that's what I love about living in the UK. I do wish for sunnier climes sometimes, but don't we all? But in terms of all the crystals, then, you know, sort of there are so many, and especially, you know, sort of again this month, and Aquarius, etc. Amethyst as well, even though I know we covered it last time, but amethyst is a beautiful blend of these because it's one of the master healers. And if you needed to sort of magnify the energies of any of these crystals, then you'd always have some clear quartz around you with them as well.
100%.
So,
that grounding energy as well really speaks to me, because, you know, obviously we're working with the root chakra, and what you were talking about, you know, for me, the grounding energy is also not necessarily about always about this uplifting energy, but sometimes the grounding is about us finding the rest in peace. You know,
absolutely.
has to be,
absolutely.
You know.
And you've got obsidian again, you know, sort of aids the digestion, and you know, as you know, as you teach it yourself, our digestion isn't just about our digestive system. It's what we digest from everything we see, all our senses, and you know, how we feel emotionally, how we digest, and you know, so what we do with all that as well. So yeah, so it's been wonderful listening to you all tonight, and so I think that's if any questions and the offers that I've got on, I think I put them on the page. I asked Fed to put them on the page because I'm not that clever yet. Is just some discounts on the crystals, and if anybody wants to do a live session to have a look around the cabin, then so just drop me a message and we can do some lovely lives, and you can have a look and I can tell you all about the properties and find some crystals that are going to resonate well with you right now for this time of year.
Absolutely. And Lisa, obviously, again, for anyone that is interested in working with Lisa and the crystals as well, just make sure that you register on that link, the naturallyfed.co.uk/events. Once you click on register for one of the full moon events, you'll be in the newsletter for the full moon events, and you'll be getting a link to the offers and also notifications for any full moon events going forward. But yes, some amazing offers from Lisa and everyone else that has spoken tonight. So very, very grateful for you coming along.
You're very welcome. I need to work on my camera skills, so I'm looking a bit brighter tonight, aren't I? And I also, like Sally, definitely want a full moon or something behind me.
Next one, I'm going to ask everyone to provide the pictures that they want, or I'll teach you how to do it, because Chris has done it. I've done it for myself, but I don't know how to do it for other people yet. But I need to work that out for the next episode.
Okay, is it well, have a wonderful rest of the night, everybody, and I'm sure it'll be just amazingly interesting, and I look forward to seeing you in the next full moon.
Likewise, and thank you so much, Lisa. Lots of love and appreciation for all your amazing
Take care.
Okay, take care. Have a lovely evening. And indeed, so we are working as well with this amazing energy. And I wanted to kind of bring us onto some of the topics that I taught, on my Naturally You course and the system that I put together. So when we're working with this energy of the root chakra, we have practices that we want to focus on that help us grounding to create that foundation for health and well-being. And the three that I really focus on is for us to think about our sleep, our rest. So this energy that we were just chatting with Lisa about. rest is fundamental, is when our body repairs. So we need our sleep, we need our rest for us to be able to regenerate, for us to keep young. And not only that, from the latest research also points at the fact that the brain is actually processing what is happening in our day. So this is where we archive and put away all the knowledge that we've taken on board during the day. And this is really, really important, because we need to cleanse this sponge, that is our brain, ready for the next day. So if we're not giving ourselves the time to do that, then we're not able to process the next day, and we wonder why we're stressed. We need to be able to put these thoughts away, so that they can be filed and archived, and we can purge any of the energetic or actual physical space that they're taking up. Next as well, we also have, when we're working with this energy, we need to be thinking as well about our hydration. Really, really important. So really fundamental about our health and well-being. We start from hydration that some people don't think about, because we've learned to tune out these signs that our body is giving us, and we think very often that we are hungry when we're thirsty. Some people are drawn to crisps, crisp addiction or savory stuff. It's because we crave the salt, because our body is telling us, give me water. I need to keep every little drop of water I can. So if you give me salt, I'm able to do that. That's when we get those cravings for salt. It's telling us that we actually need to put in more water, not that we need to add salt to our diet. So our 2 liters of water is fundamental. Okay, you actually need more if you're dehydrated, if you're hot, if you're ill, if you're taking medication, if you're eating salty foods, if you're exercising, if you're having a sauna, if you're in the hot tub. If you're sweating, then you need to top it up. If you're having alcohol, if you're having caffeine, every cup of coffee or tea that you have, you're losing a pint of hydration from your body. So on top of your 2 liters of water, you should be drinking even more. So start doing the maths and think about how much you're hydrating. And lastly, but not least, very important, third point of this energy of the root chakra is also about our breath. And we forget, we use only 10% of our lung capacity. So we need to be able to inflate. And also that helps us taking that pause that we need when we are really, anxious, when there's stress in our life. Just think for a second, 6 seconds breathing in and 6 seconds breathing out. Do it with me. Take it in. And out. It just brings peace immediately. There's so much power in that breath. It brings oxygen, which is vital for our cells not to oxidize. Yeah, we need to have oxygen to keep young. We need to also move the diaphragm. The diaphragm is the pump of our lymphatic system. Same as the heart pushes the blood, the diaphragm is actually moving our lymphatic system, which is carrying the toxins out of our body. So the breath work is not just important because we die if we don't breathe and because we don't have oxygen, is also because we need to push out toxicity. So on the full moon, we are ready. Yeah, we are ready. We are full. Yeah, we have taken everything on board. Now we need to let go. An amazing way to let go is to practice breath work. Yeah, so to really focus on a couple of different things that you might want to experience, even just that little exercise that I've done. Or just look at yoga classes, look at a breathwork class, Wim Hof, if you want to be, a hardcore, hyperventilation type of person, but definitely any sort of breathwork exercise, can really, really teach you to tune into your body. I think I shared before, I put earplugs into my ears and I can hear myself breathing when I go to bed, and that's soothing. It sends me to sleep much, much quicker than anything else, just to be able to focus and actually hear that air coming in and going into our lungs and leaving our body. You can turn that into your own meditation, just imagining that air coming in and driving that oxygen into every extremity of your body and then coming back out, and releasing at the same time. So just a couple of pointers there before I introduce you to Zena. So excited and to have Zena here on board, and we'll hear from Theo as well later on. 2 new speakers to my full moon ceremonies. So excited to have them here. And Zina, how you doing?
Hello. Hi.
Hi. So welcome to Naturally Fed and the full moon ceremonies. I'm so excited to have you here. Obviously talking about metaphysics, so something new for my followers as well. But I'm really, really excited to add this to our repertoire and to learn from you. So how's it going?
Yeah, good. To try to follow on from all of what you said, it's such and it's brilliant, Fed. You've kind of hyped everything up now, with the breath work and everything, and it's and I think you brought about the body awareness, and that's kind of one thing I want to talk about today is the body awareness of it. And there's something about I think we forget how much our body can tell us about where our consciousness is at. And it's like sometimes we are quite resistant to take ownership of sometimes our bodies can be telling us stories of what we've been trying to hide. So I want to talk tonight a little bit of like metaphysics in the aspect of like our body's health and our feelings and everything, and like what manifests if we don't listen to these, and sometimes how far do you think it can change things in the body. So and I think this time of year is so important because everyone becomes alive a bit more and everyone's more in tune with their body because we've been a bit sleepy. So we're going from the hibernation stage into kind of movement, and our aches and our pains and our limits and things can come out, and it's important to kind of look at what that means on a kind of a different consciousness level, And I think it's important I want to start from the point that the body is the outer experience of consciousness, and I think we forget that sometimes. So it's like our body is telling us where our mind is at, and that's key for tonight, I think, what I want to speak about. A bit kind of basic about metaphysics is it's kind of beyond physics, so it's a place where reality can be changed and created from the power of thought, kind of unbelief alone. And this can be a hard bit of pill to swallow sometimes, especially if we're suffering for something. So sometimes people are born with conditions, and that's actually part of from a metaphysical term, part of their kind of their life purpose, and it doesn't have to be as devastating as the outside world can see it, because that's the person who's experienced it could tell us a lot of things about lessons they learn throughout the lifetime. And another aspect is, if we have any kind of inner health that comes from, you were born from, and that's created at the time of conception, right through to if we manifest something throughout our lifetime, and usually what's brought about can change, so some things are temporary. And it's important for us to kind of look at that in a kind of a positive aspect as well, because I think sometimes we get caught up in the negatives of what can happen within the body and the limits. But actually, sometimes there's some beauty in that we need to find out about as well. So it's a very interesting field, metaphysics is. I've been doing it now for, throughout my lifetime, but like probably officially for the last 12 to 15 years. So my background is working within the counselling field and psychology, and working kind of in that kind of aspect of everything. And within that, we see lots of people coming in with mental and physical kind of limitations. And when we sit down and chat about like their life history and do a bit of a life graph and things with them, there's certain themes that come through with people with certain manifestations within the body. And that's always interesting to kind of look at. And when we work metaphysically with somebody, it's to help them get ownership of that and see how they can turn that around. And it's easier for them to have an illness or a health condition than a health condition or an illness to have them. So it's a lot about empowerment and enhancing their kind of potential to heal, sorry. So what we know is we have 60 to 100,000 thoughts a day, and that's so key to remember when we have so many thoughts. And again, this is something that's quite hard to understand, is that we control our thoughts, and when we kind of get our head around that, and that takes a lengthy process to get around. It's not just saying think positive and you'll be fine, but there's a lot of there's a work towards us, there's processes, there's kind of unlearning, there's a lot of unlearning within us, because from society tells us maybe the doctor has the answer, where we have the answer within, you know, and helping people to kind of discover that is so lovely to watch them kind of change their own life around when they get hold of their own power. So when we look at the kind of how the mind's the most weird and wonderful and amazing thing ever, you know, I could talk about the brain all day long, and it's just like it's interesting. Over 60 to 100,000 thoughts a day. That's quite mind blowing, you know. And so we've really got to use them wisely, you know. And I think it's Abraham Hicks, sorry, says that there's it takes just 68 seconds to kind of change your focus of thought, you know. And this can be done in so many different ways. And as life is a rehearsal, it's about that, though. You know, we know that it takes 30 days to change a thought. And then it takes, you know, to like a thought process and habits to begin. And when we get to like 60 days, the habit becomes more settled within the psyche, which is so essential, you know. So it's a bit like, you know, it's brain training, you know, for your own health and things, you know. So, yeah. So when we think about, you know, neural pathways change within the brain, and we have to kind of that could be done on every level. So whether you want to manifest a dream home, a relationship, or great health, we kind of forget a bit about great health first, and that's the base level where we need to be at, you know. So we have lots of kind of ways of helping people change thought patterns and change the way they are. It depends on their personality type, because not everything works for everyone, and that's kind of key to seeing, because we need to get to know who that person is. You know, people are quite diverse in how we, you know, the beauty of being a human is how diverse we are, you know, and that's so essential to kind of, you know, incorporate into any metaphysical treatment, you know. So you know, and we know that things like placebo effects are so powerful on the mind. You know, like Dr. David R. Hamilton speaks loads about the placebo effect, you know, and that works both ways. That works as in, you know, this pill will heal you, or this pill will not, you know. So there's a lot of things that can kind of, your belief is so essential in how you feel you are. And you know, metaphysically, we can inherit a lot of health conditions as well on an energetic level, not just on a physical. So yes, there's genetics and everything involved, but sometimes lots of the kind of we see coming through, especially kind of in the mind kind of science fields and stuff. We see people coming in, and we have generations upon generations of people, especially within mental health, you know, situations that, you know, when we look at it deep down, there's such a deep-rooted kind of fear, or a deep-rooted kind of, you know, blockage there within families that are passed on from generation to generation, which can be so hurtful, you know. And again, it's like having a look at that and looking at how we can help these people to transform their lives. Sorry. Yeah, so we have like 50 trillion cells or whatever it is within the body, and they're always changing. Do you know what I mean? And this is the thing, and the body remembers so much, you know. So when we sit down and think about our own histories and our own lifetimes, sometimes, you know, there could be something from our past lives that could be the huge block that makes us move forward, and something that is kind of, maybe when we look at it, it's like penny drops and thinking, that's why this is happening, you know. And it's like kind of working out how can we remove these obstacles and these blocks to help us kind of move forward in life. And it's so important. And you know, this happens within whether we're looking at somebody who has, you know, something on the physical level. It could be something like you know, we'll go to, I'll just cover this in a minute now, something like kind of issues with eating is kind of something that's really come about in the last 2 years. Eating disorders, especially amongst young people, has gone up 300%, you know, and there's a reason for that, you know, and there's so much stuff that goes on, you know, but within that eating disorders, it's not just about that, it is, you know, it's the energy that can represent. So what we know about, like, if we look at things metaphysically, it tells us more about the story, and it kind of helps us kind of kind of answer some tick boxes of like what's happening in life, where we've been, where our thoughts have been, and being able to kind of look at the ways forward in doing that, and also stop us understanding the patterns of our behaviours with repeat in the future, because we don't want that to happen. I'll just quickly go on to kind of representation of the root chakra in metaphysics, because that's quite an interesting one. That's where we all begin from, and that's where we all began. It's like, I think when people talk about chakras, they kind of forget about like the existence, the development, and it evolves. They evolve as a human, as we as humans evolve, not just as a species, but within our own lifetimes, And sometimes, when we talk about chakras, the root chakra is so important to know that that is something that has been present from the time of conception, So we have been, the energy has always been there, has always existed. And it will always kind of, there's something we can go back to, for the first 7 years of our life. The root chakra is kind of the main kind of domain that we come from as well, So there's something that we're kind of driving forward from the root chakra as well. And we're, especially within the first year of life, because it's all to do with fear and security, basically. And I think that, we see a lot of, especially children with kind of root chakra problems. I mean, you won't hear a GP talking about, or a pediatrician talking about root chakra problems. But a lot of it is, is whether that fear and that base. So we talk about secure, attached, children. So it goes, yes, against parenting, but there's something within that, because what we know is children who have had adverse child experiences, they don't all react the same way, because there's something within them that, like, sometimes their root chakra is activated differently within each human being. And that's something that kind of, is key to maybe how they're going to deal with things in life. And we know that, like, the first 7 years is so essential on lots of kind of psychological levels, but also the physical levels of being able to kind of feel connected to the outside world, as well as the kind of the family within the social kind of network that they live in, So there's lots of things that the root chakra can tell us about the history of a person, which is really, really interesting, So like the first year especially, that's key to maybe it should be in parenting books, but I'm not quite sure how that would be accepted in mainstream kind of media. It's like, let's nurture that root chakra, because it's so, so essential. So surprise, because that's where the security and safety in life comes from, and the socializing, and happiness within the world. That is something that, like, and I think that's something that a lot of children struggle with. Well, we've seen a new kind of lot of new kind of types of children coming through in the world, which is lovely, and it's like, I think we can learn so much from that, where they have that innate kind of an inborn security, and they just don't see the fears that anyone else sees, which is a challenge for them, especially these last, couple of years. But you can kind of feel the energy of them. Again, I can't see because I'm blind, hence no camera on, so I've got, you'd only see an eyeball, so that wouldn't be any good. But like when I work with, especially the younger children, when we've got that energy, that kind of the beauty within, they know stuff, they are so grounded to earth. That's something that, like, we should all have lessons from them, I think, and they're the greatest teacher, I think, to come through. And they're amazing, so it leads to different personality types of root chakras. It helps you, like, when you learn to kind of tune into each chakra, it's like you can feel the personality types, of who is a grounded, rooted, and we change throughout our lifetime. So sometimes we are more heart-centered, sometimes our crown will be more open, but, the experiences in the outside of the body will obviously, can influence in a good and a bad way about the root chakras. But we know the kind of more grounded people in life, more serious, the forward planners, they're the ones that kind of, their root chakras are quite there, and again, the ones who are driven by anxiety and fear, that's the ones that kind of really do some nurturing of the root chakra, because it's, that's their drive. If you're driven by fear, the manifestations within the body is quite, you know, it's quite big, and it's quite soul destroying, if anything else, you know. Yes, the personality, you know, there's certain, you can feel kind of, you know, people with a root chakra, and we can always work on it, but I think we'll always have an innate kind of chakra where we come from, you know. So I want to talk a little bit now about the kind of hypothalamus, because that's something that obviously goes hand in hand with the root chakra. Sorry, sorry. Yeah, and this is also with energy levels and the stress levels again, you know, and the sleeping and the eating and the thirst and the body temperature. So the main kind of functioning, you know, like if you're looking at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is the kind of the basics of being a human. That's what we need, really. And what we find is people, from a metaphysical point of view, what we find, people who have issues with the root chakra will kind of have so many, they will manifest, you know, very clustered types of problems from within. And again, if we sit down and look at their history, we kind of, you know, their thoughts and their beliefs and how they grew up and the norms and values in the world and everything, they'd have the same kind of, you know, they'd have very, you know, there'd be lots of commonalities there, you know. And, you know, if you take again about eating, you know, eating issues, what we find is, obviously it's nourishment of the soul, isn't it, you know. So, and what we find is a lot of people who have issues, so there's a difference between eating issues and eating disorders, you know. So everyone has a relationship with food, whether that's like healthy, unhealthy, in the middle, or like, you know, in between both, and we fluctuate so much within our lifetime, sorry. But what we find is, you know, if we explore that much deeper, we'll have a look at, you know, sometimes metaphysically they'll have an experience of lack or greed, you know. Now, and that's not a greed as in a bad way. That could be something that can be driven by panic as well. So we find a lot of children actually who grow up in you know, poverty will go towards the greed because there's food scarcity. So they don't know where the next meal is coming from. So they adapt a kind of way of working within greed, and it's not coming from an egotistical point of view. It's a survival. You know, it's coming really, really from the kind of, you know, the amygdala is a fear response thing. So I must have food, I must whatever, you know, to be able to survive. I cannot function as a human without being able to kind of, you know, and finding that balance is so difficult for people, you know. And again, living in lack is something that, you know, people punish themselves. They don't feel worthy. They don't feel that they can, you know, deserve the food and deserve the kind of happiness that comes from food, you know. So what we find is lots of people with the root chakras, they'll have lots of unhealthy relationships with food. And I think finding a way of, first of all, acknowledging that is the hardest thing, I think. And we know it's very rare to find somebody who's gone through a whole lifetime of having extremely healthy relationships with food, you know, from birth until 120 years old, you know. There'll be blips along the way, and that itself can tell us a lot about kind of, you know, where our conscience is at. So that's a good thing. And you know, there's a saying that I love you with all my hypothalamus. That's something you shared in you probably hear in the Big Bang Theory or something, because the hypothalamus is like, oh, it's like there's so much goes on in there, and you know, and oh, sorry, I'm back to the hypothalamus and the oxytocin within the body. What happens here is the root chakra kind of, you know, they're so related, closely related, because it's like, you know, we can't function, you know, the hypothalamus is our kind of, it's kind of the umbrella, you know, of like, it governs everything within, you know, within the root chakra. And what we also find is that, like, sometimes people who have issues, you know, going back to the root chakra, is like, you know, with insomnia and stuff, you know. And sometimes when we've got issues with insomnia, it means that we are just not listening to our life purpose, to our soul, whatever thing, you know, what the universe is trying to tell us, but we just don't want to listen, or we're not ready to listen to as well. So it's not always a conscious thing, you know. Sometimes we can just be so busy within life and so kind of caught up in everything, you know, it causes sleep problems. And we know, obviously, we probably all experience, you know, on the full moon, our sleep patterns do change, you know. you know, and that's the difference. But like, you know, when things are constantly in sleep, as you said, Fed, you know, sleep is so essential for where we are, you know. The metaphysical meaning of that could be like, what are you not listening to? Do you know what I mean? It's just like, what are you being sleepy toward? You know, or if you're hypervigilant, like, are you on high alert of things? So, because that can happen. That can be an impact on sleep patterns as well, you know. What is it that, like, if you sat down and thought, so where we were doing metaphysical terms, is sit down with somebody and think, like, what does this mean then for, like, you know, the sleep? What does this actually mean? How can you be more balanced in that area? What do you need, you know? And again, anxiety, which is like probably one of the biggest things, especially as we deal with within children, young persons kind of lives at the moment, is the anxiety is just there constantly, you know. And it's like, again, because the root chakra is a fear-based kind of center as well, it's just like grounding that, you know. And a lot of that is about loss of identity, and getting out of your mind and grounding yourself and grounding your body to help. Because what we know is, like, with anxiety, it's such a thing at the moment, I think, you know, and it's never really been as bad as it is now. Again, working 27 years in mental health, it's never been at this level now. Again, you know, people have, I think a lot of that is like the control, you know, is that they can't have control in their life because of how the world has been the last 2 years. So it's about, like, looking at somebody's anxiety levels, what we can do to help them ground and help them be a bit more in the body, you know, and control that body, you know. And it's like to do this, like, backwards, isn't it? You know, what came first, the chicken or the egg, you know? And it's about that like connection to consciousness is so essential, you know. And again, lots of people with root chakras have problems with the hips and the legs, you know, blurred vision, and there's lots of stuff. And the pain receptors change as well, you know. And this all represents not being able to move forward in life and the life path that you really want to live. Not what your loved ones want you to live, and not what, like, society tells you want to live, but not being able to kind of move forward. So the pains in hips and legs and everything, it's not necessarily from, you know, your posture and all this stuff. It actually is maybe from, you know, where your drive's at. What is your driving force in life? Where, you know, why aren't you able to access that? And, like, what do you need to help access that as well is so key and essential. Yeah, so, you know, when we the root chakra, so it's like, you know, being out of control, is not functioning within basic needs, you know. I'm feeling powerless, you know. So we need to sort of go back, you know, look, you know, with support, because it's going to be quite triggering to look at your relationship within what that was like for you as a child growing up, especially the first 7 years of life, because that's sometimes where the secrets lie, you know. Again, I'll just quickly go over. I've got, you know, I know Fred, you put down about the testes and stuff. This is a time of year to look at that, you know. And there's everything about virility, nurturing, creativity, and drive in life, you know. And there's something about, you know, and when there's problems created within that area of the body, you know, what we know is, like, there's lots to do with low self-esteem, and, you know, and feeling invisible as well. That's something that is, like, you know, where am I in life? Why am I not being seen? You know, am I being overlooked as well? So there's lots of that happening, and lots of masculinity, doubts and toxicity and everything, and the loss of loved ones, you know. That's something key. And we find sometimes that, like, if there's a cyst formation in the testes or something, they've had it can be because no support, you know, from the outside. Well, lots of loved ones as well, you know. So from that kind of, you know, cysts grow and grow, because that's something that's, you know, deeper than a physical level. That's coming from within, you know, and unhealed trauma as well.
I know, Zina, I'm just conscious of our time running out, but yeah. This is so powerful, because there are so many people that have actually reached out, you know, about polycystic ovaries, you know, and just problems that are very, very, you know, prevalent in today in society, but also, I don't know, for those and the guys that are watching as well. This to me resonates a lot with some of the previous content that we shared around the addiction, porn addiction, about you know, the addiction around masturbation, about pornography. You know, not that we should be steering away from sexuality, because I think it's something that needs to be explored and needs to be embraced a lot more than perhaps what sometimes it gets demonized by people, by the church or whatever else. But what I want to share here, coming from what you just said, I think that there's something really powerful in what I was studying around, just doing tantric practice and retention of our semen for men, and also the retention sometimes, or working with the orgasm, the energetic orgasm for both women and men, and how we can use that power to actually activate that Kundalini energy, how to we can use that energy to actually feed our soul and the rest of the body. And we got an energy center here that is quite powerful, and yet we're focused on something that is very physical, because especially for a guy, ejaculation tends to coincide with the orgasm, with the spiritual and the physical energy. So when you start talking about differentiating what these two things are, and this is also for women, because we can talk about female ejaculation here as well. I know we're talking about taboo stuff that people people are gonna put the fingers in their ears, but I name it stuff like this, and that if you're talking to me, when we're talking about the root chakra, it's about letting go of our feces. So people don't want to talk about, well, I do, because it's very, very important. But what I'm getting at is that there's an amazing source of energy that we need to embrace, and ultimately when we are wasting this energy through ejaculation, when we're pushing this energy out of our body, we're not using it for our own healing. And that energy is also what can help us to ground, to sleep, to rest, to reinvigorate, to re-energize, to recreate our own cells. So I think is making amazing sense. So I'm so grateful for you to bring this topic really to the table, Zina, because it's so powerful. When we think about these conditions that are affecting us, and we are attributing them just to our lifestyle, sometimes it's the energy that we want to also look at.
Definite. I agree with all of that. Definitely. And the art of tantra, that's such it's such a powerful technique, because it's like it's concentrated energy as well, which is something that is porn addiction is through the roof at the moment. You know what I mean? So, like, as you said, concentrating that pure life drive, that kind of the life force within, that is essential.
Amazing. Well, Zina, I love you with all my hypothalamus. I absolutely love that, and I can't wait for you to join us again. I know that we are not going to be able to have all of our speakers on every single event, but I definitely will look forward to you joining us again. So thank you so much. I would like to ask everyone to give appreciation here for Zina, and send lots of love hearts, and again make sure to join our distribution list by clicking on the link, so that we can send you the offers that all of our speakers, including Zina, have put together for yourselves. So thank you so much, Zina, for your contribution tonight, and have a lovely rest of the evening.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Amazing. You take care. All right. I'll speak
Thank
to
you
you
as well. Thank you.
Fab. And I've got another speaker here that I'm really, really excited about. And this has actually come through an intuitive connection. Let's call it. This is the universe manifesting speakers for me. Absolutely loved it. So it was a suggestion on Facebook, and I do this quite often, and maybe it's something that I'll put out there for you guys to try as well. So sometimes I just look at people on Facebook as they pop up on my screen, and I just add them as a friend, and then see what conversations or transactions happen as a result. And I was really drawn to Theo, and literally I just connected because I saw that he was doing numerology. It's something that I dabbled with in the past, and I read up a little bit around it. Nowhere near what I was about to experience from this tornado of knowledge that is so artistically organized in this guy, in this human being, just insane. So I'm very, very excited. And we ended up, rather than having a conversation for what I thought, let's just introduce each other and see if we can work together. We ended up being on the phone for 2 hours with a full-blown consultation and sharing of amazing knowledge about myself through Theo analyzing my name and my date of birth. So insane knowledge and really, really powerful information that ultimately completely stripped me bare, in front of someone that I barely knew, and I didn't have to say anything about myself for him to work out, what person I am, that he wants to work with me, that he wants to connect, and so that for me was just incredible as an experience. So that is what I have to say about Theo. I'm excited to have you here, man, and let me just bring you on to the screen as well. And just a second, let me see if this is happening. It is indeed. So welcome. How you doing?
Amazing. Thank you. Listen, what a fantastic evening. Great speakers. How do you follow some of these speakers? Amazing. Very excited about being here, and what an introduction. Thank you so much. That's very kind. And I've got my little obsidian on, and I've got my eye on that red jasper that Lisa had, and some of the speakers, some of the insights today have been really, really helpful. And even in the last conversation, talking about being hermetically sealed and sealing your own energy and reusing that energy. You're talking about tantra, and we're talking about the path of the razor's edge. It's not an easy thing to do, to retain and keep your energy, because as humans, we're very, very good at hemorrhaging everything that is so good about ourselves, or giving it away without owning it or giving it value. This is what I like to talk about. We talk about owning your power or finding your seat of power, but more than just doing that is the respect and the self-respect. That's when we come back to self-love. So when we talk about doing this numerically, because I don't know how many people are aware of numbers or numerology, it's a language. And when we think about numbers, the world, the universe is made up of numbers, and numbers are everywhere. Some people resonate with them. Some people gravitate to them. Some people have got no interest. And I have to say, I grew up not being a mathematician, not being particularly warm to numbers, but something happened as I went through a phase in my life, a process in my life, and then something happened with number, and it's how I see things. And when you understand that numbers, other than just counting and measuring, are actually symbolical, you can start understand. It's almost like a language that lets you permeate and cut through absolutely everything. So you can see who you are, where you are, and where you are in your particular voyage, your particular journey through life. A lot of these things sort of kind of sit in tandem with what Chris had been saying earlier about timing and our place in the universe. But with what I do and the way I look at it, it becomes very centrifugal, it becomes very person-based. You understand yourself, and then you can understand yourself in the environment. So how I would tie this into now and this particular moon and this grounding phase is actually you coming to find yourself and understand what it is about you. So if I was to kind of say that with numerology, it kind of breaks down into two phases. It breaks down into the voyage, your journey, and this breaks down into like segments. So for example, your birthday number, which is a very important, significant figure, because it's like a passport. It kind of covers everything. It kind of gives you access. It determines your career path, perhaps to a degree, but more importantly, the relationships you have and your attitude towards other people and how you interact with other people. The month you're born usually governs the formative years, and a combination of these two numbers then are kind of about your interactive energy. And then your year of birth, then, this is a real marker because it's kind of the direction you're heading you in, and it sets you up then for your purpose. And so your day, month, and year, when they're added, create this energy that is the finish line, if you like, what you were here, why you're coming back again, where you're going to, and really what it's all about. Now, when you think about numbers, it's infinite. That's why the symbol for infinite isn't really a number, it's a symbol, because they're endless. But really, it's actually a lot simpler than that, because there are only 9 numbers. Everything really just breaks down into 9 numbers. So when you look at a number, say 347, okay, this actually becomes 5 because, does it? Because 3, 4 is 7, plus 7 is 14, becomes 5. So everything just seems to sandwich and condense down. And all these numbers have patterns and rhythms. They're like sound, they're like vibration, and they can be read. So where you are now can be read. You can be read. And this is kind of where I want to go. And I know I've only got a short period of time and I've got so much to talk about. So I'll try and narrow it down. And what I really want to focus on, really, apart from the voyage and where you are now and this coming back and being grounded, is I want you to understand the power in your name, because your name is a very, very powerful force. It is a mantra. Your name is like a song and a sound, and this is the dance of life that you live. If your date of birth is the thing that shapes environment and creates the experiences for you, your name is the vessel through which you experience things. Okay, now this is where it gets kind of interesting, because each single name is a living energy. Okay, and each name has 3 forms of expression, or 3 types of energy. There's the whole thing. That's all the letters in your name. The whole thing is the expression. Then we can take out the vowels. The vowels then become the emotive force. Okay, what you want. So if the expression is everything that you are and everything that you do, take out the vowels and it's everything you desire and everything you want, the motivating force, the motivating factor. And then you have all the consonants then. And the consonants are basically the influence, your impact, what you do, the way you dress, how you look, how you sound to other people. You don't really get to see much of this yourself. It has an overall contributing factor to some of the things you do in your persona and your character, but it's what others generally see. It's the influence you present to other people, your impact to other people. So they're the 3 core energies of a name. It gets interesting when you start breaking a name down, because each letter in a name has a specific set of patterns or characteristics. So the name itself, the letter in the name itself, is almost like a little personality, a little persona itself. And then when you look at a name then, and it's broken down into these little individual characters, there's a structure. So the first letter in a name is usually a cornerstone. So the first impressions, everything is built on. We said there's 9 numbers. Unfortunately, when it comes to letters, there's only 8 numbers that apply to letters, because the 9th number is considered divine or sacred. So there isn't a letter represented by the number 9. The letters represent 1 to 8, and there's families and tribes of letters that correlate, that create action, that create happenings, that have a certain pattern, just like a tuning fork, just like a keynote. It will have a particular reoccurring familiar vibration and pattern. But what becomes interesting is when you bring these letters together, they then create something that's greater than the sum of its parts. And then the 9 can come into play, because the letters can come together to make 9. So we've talked about these letters being individual personalities. So when we look at a name and they're made up of these letters, the name then becomes like a family. Okay, and obviously most of us have 2 names at the very least, but some of us have multiple names. And when these names come together, then you have like a tribe or a community. And as you well know, that when tribes come together, there isn't always necessarily harmonics. There's sometimes contradictions, disharmony, discord. So what we've always got to try and do is understand how our energies work when they come together. And there are different ways of working with our names, because obviously our Christian names, or the names, our first names that we're born with, sometimes these are shortened. So for example, Chris could be Christopher or Christian. Okay. Or if it was a girl, Christine. Okay. So you've got to think about what the whole name is saying, and then what the shorter name is saying. And then obviously we have pet names or nicknames, or name, affectionate names that we call each other. And then these come into play as well. And it's how these energies, if you like, then correlate with our family energies, our family name energies. So I just kind of wanted to explain a little bit about this discord and this accord, and how these things kind of work, because like color, like sound, certain energies can conflict, like charges attract or like charges repel. Some things work together well, some things don't. And this is what you're looking for. This is what you're trying to find, this complete harmony. So there's no lacking, there's no shortage, because there is, if you like, it might be easy if I can explain kind of what letters do. That might be an interesting way of looking at it. But if you've got a particular name and there's an abundance of a certain type of letter or a certain type of energy, you can find that there's an imbalance or a deficiency. So what you're looking at is an overall balance. So if I was to explain that, if we were to go through the alphabet very, very quickly, if I was to say to you that the letters A and I or J or Q or Y, these particular letters in a name represent mental fortitude. These are the energy, these are the letters that provide us with confidence or grit or determination, independence, self-reliance. Okay, they make us mentally tougher. So if you have an abundance of these letters, you're likely to be mentally stronger. You're not likely to give up. You're not likely to be overawed or overwhelmed or easily influenced or sidetracked. You'll have a lot more determination, personal determination. So when people say to me, oh, I'm lacking confidence, I can look at their name and say, it's not really confidence you're lacking. You could be lacking, there could be some emotional instability here, or it could be just some inconsistencies with a predominance of another type of energy or a lacking of another type of energy, because mental toughness can get you through many things. You know, sometimes when there's a lacking in, when we talk about mental health, for example, which is a real hot topic at the moment, I can often see where, okay, some things can really overwhelm, the situation can get on top, and you might find it hard to find coping mechanisms or stabilize, or there may be tendencies then to go off kilter or look for different kinds of stimulus or bury your head. So you're always looking for the right kind of balance in the fortitude, because you can have too much of a good thing, have too much of these particular letters, and then be very dominant, very authoritative, over assertive, quite militant. So it's just striking the balance. The letters B, K, and R, these letters govern the emotional content. Okay, so emotional maturity, perception, intuitiveness, tolerance, patience, time. Again, the sexual energy. It's because these particular, if a lacking of these, you can kind of get the lines between sex and love kind of confused and blurry. Sometimes a lacking of these letters can make you feel slightly detached. So you're more inclined to sit on the peripherals of life, and you're less likely to engage on an intimate level. There could be emotional immaturity with a lack of these letters. So it's very, very important that they're in there. You don't need a great deal of them. The more that you have of them, the more likely your time you spend a lot of time or overindulge in time or immerse in things that it's like being in your own world. You can get trapped in your own little universe, in your own little bubble. So sometimes it's quite important to just strike the balance and come back and get grounded and centered again. And so this takes me to the letters C, L, G, and S. And these letters are all about expression, but they also govern self-expression, speaking, demonstration. A lacking of these letters can often, people say, oh, I get stuck here. I can't express myself. And it always seems to get stuck here because these letters govern self-expression, self-demonstration. And I find this is a real issue in relationships with a lacking of this. This also governs diction, vocabulary, hand-eye coordination. So, picking up skills, picking up basic skills. But more importantly, it governs proximity of space. So people that have a lacking of these particular letters will find it hard to go into crowded spaces or onto escalators or going into lifts or getting into tubes or going on an airplane, because it's stifling of space. So an abundance of these letters, there's names at the moment that are quite popular, like Lillian or Lily, Lucinda, lots of L's and lots of S's. You'll find these people are going to be very expressive, very chatty, lots of, constantly moving and dancing, lots of rhythm. It's that even talking, they don't have to talk necessarily with their hands. They'll talk with everything, the eyes, the hair, the hands, the whole shebang. You'll see it. It's a very demonstrative, expressive energy. Then the letters D, M, and T in a name, these are the grounding. So these are the letters that are kind of relating to where we are now. This is about the process. This is about keeping it real, being practical, being organized, having structure, being methodical, the need for rules. People that didn't have these letters, D's, M's, and T's, will find they're a little bit chaotic, a little bit maverick. They won't conform very easy. They will be seen as chaos or rebellious. And will resist any kind of conforming. But equally, for some things, that's exceptional. But for other things, it could also be reckless. Sometimes if the A's, I's, J's, Q's, and Y's govern mental fortitude and keep you mentally strong, the letters D's, M's, and T's keep you physically strong, keep you physically the physical fortitude. So a lacking of these can create issues here. Then you have the letters E, N, H, and X, and these govern expansion, flexibility, being articulate. They govern the senses, because 5 is a number that governs all the senses. So it's the need for stimulus. So a lacking of these, you will end up being very grounded and staying in your comfort zone. You know, and having about 4 of these particular letters will mean that you will need roots, but you like familiarity, but you're quite open to the idea of trying some new things, because, you know, change is good. Change is the only thing that's guaranteed. But an abundance of them, too many of them, and then this can also affect you, because then you become too restless. It's always the next thing, and it creates a lot of nervous energy, and it's very difficult in relationships because it's very hard to focus. And then, you know, there's this need for stimulation. You get bored quick, so you're always, it's almost like having an escapist kind of mentality. Then you have the letters U, V, and W. Again, very important letters, are not so common in you know, first names and middle names. They're usually more evident in surnames or family names. But these letters are the ideal, the nurturing, the giving, the sense of community, the sense of belonging, the sense of giving. So a lacking of these particular types of energy in yourself, it can be quite difficult, because expectation can be overwhelming. The ability to prioritize what we give and how we give can also be quite challenging. And you'll find a lacking of any of these particular letters in any particular area will have knock-on effects in the way you experience your environment and the world and the direction you're moving. And more importantly, your relationships with yourself and with other people. So U, V's, and W's, these are the people number. These are the ideals. So, you know, if you've got a lot of these letters, a predominant amount of these letters, you'll find your ideals are very hard and fast. And, you know, you're sticking to your guns, and you become very hard-headed and stubborn. A lacking of them, then, you know, you could argue that, you know, it's a bit more loose. You don't face up to priorities. You're not owning it. You're not taking responsibility. So a real plethora there of issues, because obviously, you know, we have families. We have work colleagues, we have connections. So this is something we'd always like to feel that we're addressing, because when it comes down to what we give and what we're able to give and giving that value, this becomes a very important matter. The letters O and Z, these govern perception, intellect, processing. Now, if you don't have these letters, it doesn't mean that you're not articulate, you know, you're not switched on and you're not intelligent. Far from it. You know, there's a lot of people that borderline what we term genius that have a lacking of these letters, but you will often find that these letters, these people will also be very detached from what is reality, and there's some coping issues with regards to fitting in and being accepted. The O's and the Z's, not only do they govern thought and thinking, they govern application. Okay, so having these letters in there, the more you have, the quicker the ability to process. A lacking of them means the way that you think and your perception is different. So you can end up being more of an articulate, out-of-the-box thinker. So the mainstream isn't necessarily what you're seeing. The small, subtle prompts and cues, you're not really getting it. Humor is going to be something that it's gaugeable. You know, you get more likely to be very discerning and very cynical, as opposed and not appreciate sarcasm, but find yourself being very sarcastic. It's all about perception and all about the way you think and the way you apply yourself, which then neatly brings me on to the F and the P. Okay, and this is about assertion, authority, and control to a degree, but it's more importantly, it's about purpose, finding what it is you need to do and how you're going to go about doing it, and the standard that you set while you're doing it. So these letters are very, what I call serious letters, mature letters, power letters, strength letters, hence the name Perseo, because I wasn't born Perseo, I was born, I'm not even going to tell you what I was born, but there's a particular reason why I went for that particular name with those particular letters, because when they come together, there's a particular energy that it provided that enabled me to be creative and imaginative, but with force and power, so I could deliver. Because, you know, when you're working on an intimate personal level, it's sensitive, and, you know, saying things that are difficult to receive, you have to use a language that is palatable and not destructive, because people can hang on every word. And you know what the mind is like. We can, the way that we are hardwired, certain people overthink, overanalyze, break things down, and only you can say 1,000 things that are amazingly positive, but we can only focus on the difficult, challenging things. So we always, the way I've set my name up is so I can be constructive about how I've got to deliver a particular message. So the interesting thing about these letters, this language of letters, this language of numbers through letters, is when you understand your song, you understand how it works, you know your dance. And when you understand how your dance is and the way that you work, the way that you're hardwired, you know your strengths and weaknesses, you know how to use your name the right way, because this is another interesting concept. So your first name can work very well on its own. You may add it to your surname, there could be an issue. You may find that using your middle name with your first name and your surname could be more beneficial and productive to you. Or it could be that these things don't work and you need a little bit more help. And this is how I find I spend a lot of my time is, and I know that Zena touched on it earlier in the metaphysical talk, is that you can actually change things. And I'm not just necessarily saying using your mind to change things, albeit you can do this, you can be aware of certain things and you can work on them. If you're a particular type of song, if you're a particular type of music, that is what your music is, that is your genre. Okay, and you may be able to speed it up or slow it down, but that is your, heavy metal is heavy metal. Progressive rock is progressive rock. You might country and westify it, but it's still what it is. Okay, it's very difficult to try then and become something else. So it's always important to be what you are and who you are. But if what you are and who you are is difficult or challenging, and remember, I never say there's no such thing. Every name is a powerful energy and a successful energy. It's either going to be very powerful and successful at being constructive and positive and bring you bliss, or it's going to be very difficult and challenging, but it's going to create lots of opportunities that are going to forge character. But sometimes some things tip the scales and things become extremely challenging. It could be that, you become very obsessive and very fixated. A lot of these energies can, create compulsive disorders, compulsive behavior that you become a slave to. And, and some of these energies can be very extreme. So it's very difficult to say to someone, you can't do that, or you need to work on that, or you need to look at this. If you're hardwired a certain way, that is what you do. And, there's a few ways you can deal with it. And the way we kind of go outside of the holistic avenue is usually medication and therapy. But there's a lot of it and it's very expensive and there's horrific side effects. Or, you can go to a great coach and he can work with you or she can work with you. And you can find a set of coping mechanisms and you can encourage and introduce things like meditation or yoga or exercise, or, like I said, look at your nutrition and things can change. But you are still going to play out this dance, this song. And like I said, for some people, it's easy. You can work a way around it. You might have some self-discipline and you can work through things, but it's not that straightforward for everybody. And then you would come to see someone like me. So not only would I explore and reveal so you can have some personal discoveries, then I go into design mode and then we can look at creating a different kind of energy, a new template that changes things. So if you're not one for self-expression, and bearing in mind there are particular numbers and energy that block self-expression, you can still encourage an energy that helps you to demonstrate and find a different way to communicate. So this is where it gets very interesting, because it's just number. And numbers are just like coding. And we can program and code computers. The numbers or the numbers that are present in our letter in the letters in our name are our coding, our own personal coding. So you will come and see someone like me and I will reveal to you your own personal coding, and how to work with it best. And, if it is difficult and you're finding things very challenging, or you're looking at, taking control and having more control in your experience of life, then you would come and see me. And then we talk about a different kind of voyage, which is very exciting. It's very exciting. I love that about what I do. So there's who you are, there's what you are, okay? And there's why you are. And a lot of that comes from your name. But with your date of birth, which is the voyage, it's where you are and when you are, Okay, so we're looking at all the things that are going on us planetary, with the moon, with the, you know, with the phases, with all the planet alignments, but we are still changing. We're on this little clock, we're on this little mechanism while that's all going on as well. So what you always want to do is be solid, grounded, aware, understand how you work, understand your place in your environment, contain and own your power, give it value. Don't give it away cheaply. You know, so many of us are too attached to things that are going on outside of ourselves, and we're quite happy to give away the great things about ourselves without giving it value. I can talk all day long. I don't think I need to go any further than this. But if anyone's got any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Amazing, CEO. It's just insane how we can claim really that energy just by tuning in into our name, our personal mantra, and you know, something that we all have at our disposal, our, you know, advantage. And yet, you know, very often we oversee, you know, we don't even think, you know, when we are introducing ourselves, how much we actually give, you know, just by, you know, as we shake someone's hand and pass on, you know, this energy. We don't really think about the vibration, you know, how much really. I mean, I was just, as I said earlier on, I was completely shocked about how much you got to know me just through my name, you know, how much you knew.
It was easy for me. It was easier for me to get to know you by sitting with you, because I get to see everything. The great thing is you get to see everything about you. You've got to remember, you know, I've had 2 incarnations because I've changed my name. So I had the previous version of me and then this version of me, and obviously there's such a difference. I changed my name for a very distinct reason, and there was something that I needed to happen, and in changing my name I gave myself access to a lot more things. I encouraged a lot more different kind of energies where I was struggling in my own personal life. So that was my catalyst for change, and obviously that coincided because that happened as soon as I kind of embarked on this particular number journey, because it was so fascinating to me. And I just become, what I do is it's very serious. It's quite biblical. It's very serious. It's really powerful. And, you know, you don't just go, I'm not in the habit of going, just changing names for the sake of it. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. But when you understand how things are working, you see the mechanics, the mechanisms of it, it's very simple. And that's the best thing about it. It is actually very, very simple. And the change is significant, and the change, you know, Zena was talking about the placebo effect, because I've worked with people that have got autism, and I worked with a few younger people that were autistic, and there was a particular routine they had going to school, and they'd been doing this they went to a mainstream school, and they were doing this for a particular period of time. And I was doing a well-being event, and she just came in and sat next to me, and she was so engrossed with, she just got it. She just got what I was doing. She said nothing. She watched. People were sitting in, and she didn't go. And I was quite happy to be there, and she was quite happy to be there herself. And I eventually spoke to her mum, and I sat with her a few days later, and we tweaked the spelling of her first name because it was causing some issues with her surname. And something that she'd been doing for her whole schooling time changed. The following Monday, she went into school from changing her name, just from doing one little thing, making one little adjustment, and her acting upon it and changing it. So, you know, we talk about placebo and the power of placebo. That could be well so, but I believe it's the energy change straight away. Once you understand how your energy works, once you understand the mechanisms and the dynamics of it, it's a game changer. It's a real eye opener. And, you know, owning your power. I keep saying this, the most valuable thing, the most powerful thing you will ever own, you will ever wear, is your name. It's it. It's that simple. And, you know, what we call our pets, what we call our children in particular, is such an important decision. You always want to get that right.
I was going to say, I'm definitely not going to change my name after everything you told me about my name. And if anything, you know, that session with you has really helped me embrace my name even more. I can see people have said here how fascinating, you know, and, you know, they found this, and obviously the whole session. Sasha's asking, do you analyze your maiden name or married name?
Right. This is the thing about numbers, is there's so much conjecture. Okay. Now, there are certain communities, usually the American communities, that say the name you're born with is your name. Okay. And I keep breaking pencils on them. Because I said, so what about the people that don't know their name? They don't know their birth name. They were adopted. What if you'd gone through a really horrific scenario, or there was a revelation later on in life, and you realized that this wasn't your name, or that there was something that was painful, and there's an attachment to that name that creates pain for you. No, the thing about I love this. It's one of my favorite things. You see, when let's talk about relationships, and we'll talk about the general type of relationships. Usually when a boy and a girl, because usually when a girl meets a guy, she will change when they marry. She will generally, it's not always been the case. It's kind of a recent phenomenon since Victorian times that a woman takes on the man's name when they marry. Now, for me, it's not the relationship that's the making or breaking of a woman. It's the name she takes on that's the making or breaking of the relationship. Because generally speaking, and we'll talk general terms now, boy meets girl, they're in a relationship, everything's hunky-dory, they're going through the motions, they have a cat, they get it, they buy a house, and it's the next step. It's either a child or, buying a house is the next step. So, marriage is the next step. So why should all of these good things change? They marry. Now, I'm not saying that they all fall apart, because that's not the case. Sometimes the name enhances, reinforces, bring extra dynamics in, but sometimes it can mess up the harmony. It can mess up the harmony of the person who adopts the new name, and that dynamic can also affect the relationship harmony as well. And that's why it can go so bad so quick. Yeah. So the name dynamic changes is the game changer, is the real game changer. So I often sit with couples that are going to get married, and they look at the dynamic. Is it worth keeping a name? Because that's also becoming very popular now for women to keep their own name, or hyphenating. And that can be a great option, because it brings more letters to the table. You've got to remember, letters are skills, and it's better to have a nice broad spectrum and an abundance of letters. I'm always encouraging people that haven't got a middle name, take on a middle name, bring something to the table. It's like having it's like having a tool bag or a makeup box. You've got everything covered for all opportunities. It's like going on holiday. When you take your suitcase with you, you've got to be prepared. You've got to be prepared for everything. And making sure you're packing right is key, is essential.
And I can see Sasha is also asking, and you look at your nickname or your given name, but I think I got this answer as well, because
they're all important. Listen, the name that you're using now is the most important thing. If you've married, because a lot of people, again, they marry or they may separate. So they don't want to use the married name. They want to go back with the name that they were working with. They haven't quite changed it yet, but they introduced themselves with the name that they were previously working with or living with. But unfortunately, anything that kind of goes down official, so if it's on a driving license, if it's on your finances, if it's attached to a mortgage, that energy, even though you might not necessarily be using it, it's still prevalent. So I always say, if you're going to change your name, live with it for a little while, sit with it for a little while, resonate with it, okay, before you commit to it. Okay, but don't be in two schools, don't be in two camps, because you find that you will hemorrhage, especially if they're opposite, you'll hemorrhage through one. Okay, and you will have this identity crisis or identity complex. And even when people do change their names, that's sometimes a real transition for some people, because they have to go through this. It's almost like a separation. They've got to release what was, because they're stepping into what is. And it's an adjustment period. It's fascinating.
Amazing. So again, Sio, I just want to say, amazing knowledge. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom here today. It was enlightening. I think it was a definitely interesting and also inspiring for some people. I'm sure that people will want to reach out to you, and to do that, make sure that you register yourself on that link that is scrolling at the bottom of the page here, so that we can send you some information and a nice, lovely discount as well for a consultation with Sio as well. Yes. So thank you so much, and looking forward to more collaboration.
I'm sorry, just had a short period of time, because there's so much I could say and I want to say. I just thought I try and keep it just into this little pocket here. But I just want, there was so much I wanted to help people with, that they can see it for themselves. Because that's the thing. Once you see it for yourselves, it's so obvious, and you think, oh my goodness me, I can't believe this has been in front of my face forever, and I'm only seeing it now. That's the thing that freaks people out, because then you start thinking, oh, that's why I've met this person. That's why this worked. Oh, that's why this didn't work. Yeah. Once you understand how these little nuances all start coming together, it's very simple. It's an eye opener. It's a game changer. It's the game changer.
Well, I'm going to set you a challenge, since we've got another 10 full moon events for this year left. It will be for you to take people on a journey every little event, to add to this picture.
Okay. Well, if we've got 10 more, I can talk about the 9. So we can talk about the 9. I can talk about how this works in names. I can talk about the compounds. So this is quite an interesting way of looking at it. It's a beautiful way to interact. Yeah, you can see it. And then, the thing is, because of these 9 numbers and how they fit and how they work in your personal configuration, your personal date of birth, you can then see how it works for other people. So it just gives you an allotted time to stand in the shoes of others. So it gives you a little bit more, it makes you a bit more conscientious towards the attitudes and the energies of other people. That's the really cool thing. You can, it's obviously because the way our phases work, our tides work, and it works in 9s. Okay, it almost allows you with every passing tide or every passing cycle or every passing phase for you to stand in the shoes of somebody else. So you will understand the challenges that they go through on a regular basis. So when they have that zenith, when they're in that particular tide and it's their particular energy, it kind of, it ups the ante a little bit, or sometimes it clashes, or sometimes it suppresses. But when you go through it, you peek through their window. You get to see, oh my goodness me, this is what it's like for you every day. Oh my goodness, this is crazy, So it's very interesting. By the way, you talk about grounding, you're talking about this moon. This moon, obviously, we're in, this is still Capricorn time. We're coming into Aquarius now, but the number 8 sits with both. So this particular moon sits with number 8 people. So people born on the 8th, the 17th, and the 26th. It's a time to be realistic. It's a time to be practical. It's a time to, people like everything's been saying, you come out of your cave, shake yourself down, get your bearings, find what you're resourceful, find what is useful, strip back what isn't, and then go and do something important with it. And that's the key word. Do something important. Do something that makes you feel good about yourself. And it could be something very simple.
Amazing. Thank you so much again. I hope that this was inspiring for people to listen to. I'm sure that it was. So I'd like to renew my gratefulness for you to take part here, CEO. Have a lovely rest of the evening as well. And I'll look forward to having you on our next moon.
Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
And people, CEO is joining us for our summit as well. So if you want a longer opportunity to listen to his amazing knowledge, I will be sharing that information very soon. And so you got a little bit of an exclusive bit of news about the speakers at our event. Perfect. So thank you again so much. So all I've got left to say here is just an amazing evening session, amazing full moon. I hope you like the new format here. I hope that is giving you some insight into some of the things that we can work on with this particular full moon during this month. So important to go into our root chakra, our energy, as we heard from Chris, to reclaim this amazing opportunity, to reclaim our power. And, and as we heard, from Sally, using the essential oils that can really bring this extra opportunity for us to support our body, using the power and the vibration of the crystals to keep away those negative energies, to reinvigorate our circulation, our flow, which obviously starts with this energy of the root chakra and travels all the way up. And obviously, as Zena as well as taught us, to tune into the energetic side of things, not just on the physical, and of course reclaiming the power that your name brings to us. This for me was an amazing way to look into our root chakra, the knowledge that we share on the Naturally You course. We start with the root chakra with this certainty, with this stability, the breath work, the hydration, the rest, understanding these concepts is fundamental for us to be able to build health and well-being and mindset that is unshakable, so that we really can be strong and prevail above any negativity, anything that can happen to us. So again, if you're interested in the offers of our speakers, we've got the details there. that I've been sharing. So you've got the naturallyfed.co.uk/events. You might find as well, if you go and have a look at your inbox, there's already an email in there waiting for you, thanking you for being here if you made it to the end. Also, I would like to renew the invite as well to look at the course if you're interested in finding out more about how the Naturally You system works. So there's information on the /Naturally You page. There's also a free webinar, which is NY for Naturally You webinar, that you can go and watch. All the details are on our website and on the emails that you get. So it's just an opportunity for you to get to know the system that I've put together to help you support and get in control really of your health and well-being, and and to do this amazing work. Just follow our full moon events, our summits, but of course if you want to dive deep, we also have this amazing opportunity with the foundation course. We've got an offer on until the end of this week, 2 for 1. Since we've had Valentine's Day, you and a loved one, doesn't have to be your partner, can be anyone that you care about. You can join 2 for 1 on the course for the foundation. And I put out this morning as well the offer for the scholarships if you're interested in actually doing this full-on 1-year program where every week you get a new lesson, a full 1.5 hour with me, plus group coaching every week to keep you accountable, to make sure that you're doing the work to really take your health and well-being to the next level. That is open. So we've got 20 scholarships to give away. Make sure to have a look at the post on Facebook and to find out the details on how to apply for your scholarship if you're interested in that. So again, thank you so much for watching. Probably the longest full moon ceremony to date, 2.5 hours of live streaming. I hope you enjoyed. It was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the speakers for their knowledge, for sharing so much, and thank you all for watching. I wish you an amazing evening, and I look forward to the next full moon in March. You take care. Have a lovely evening. Take care. Bye bye.